There's two things on my website. One is deal flow, and one is a podcast, How to Get the Fucking Money. Deal flow and How to Get the Money. Deal flow, okay. Those are the two least looked at vis-a-vis Google Analytics on my website. How do you get the money and how do you get the deals? Of all the hundreds of pages I have, the two most important goddamn things are looked at the least. Now you tell me, geniuses, why the fuck that is. Because you're not serious. You know, he tells me how to get the money and then he tells me how to get the deals. Well, Christ, I got no more excuses. Of all the things on my site, those are the two least clicked. Two least. What all you guys are describing so far is you're afraid. Or as they say in Scotland, you're afeared. You're afeared. Because unless your parents were Agassi and Steffi Graf, both world champion, gold medalists in the Olympics, it's not likely you were trained to be a high performance person. Unless your name is Rockefeller or Kennedy or whatever, it's not likely you were trained to be a high performance person. And so you're afraid. You're afraid of making a mistake. You're afraid of what everybody's going to think. You're afraid of looking stupid. One of the characteristics of high performance people are they engage in self-deprecation. Well, most people in this audience would rather cut their fucking toe off than have people laugh at them. Because you have low self-esteem. I mean, the high performance people that you may not like, Donald Trump, etc., who I know, myself, I mean, you have, as I told Brian Rose, you have no idea how limitless you are when you don't care what other people think or say about you. And to answer your question, it is fear that drives that. It is. And most of your mates that you hang around with are just as afraid because you pick somebody like yourself to hang around with. Remember I talked about there's a geometric difference between playing not to lose and playing to win. Virtually everybody that's ever come to this seminar has played most of their life not to lose, and everybody on YouTube is playing not to lose and not playing to win. Now you've seen in athletic endeavors, American football, one team at halftime break is leading 20-3. And they come out after halftime and they sit on their lead. They lose momentum. And they lose in overtime 21-20. And that's what happens. We decide to sit on our assets, pun intended, and covet our assets instead of growing them. And when you stop doing, now, everybody in this room that has ever been in business and everybody on YouTube that has ever been in business can understand what I'm about to say. When you start a business, whether it's selling lemonade when you were a kid, newspaper route, starting your own little nursery company, whatever, the first dollar of revenue, when you go from $0 to $1, is geometric growth. When you go from $1 to $10 in revenue, when you go from $10 to $1,000 in revenue, that's geometric growth. Then what happens? You sit back and you start worrying about and coveting your assets, and you start worrying more about protecting what you have instead of growing what you have. The only difference between these guys and most of these influencers and myself as we continue to grow the business as if when we started. I tried to grow, I did grow, just like I did my first $50,000 in revenue. The seminar is really about the psychology of fear. Because everybody's afraid, myself included. And it's not what happens to us in life, guys and gals. It's how we react to what happens to us in life. That's the difference. Winston Churchill writes about being afraid. Teddy Roosevelt writes about being afraid. But it's the action we take in spite of that fear that differentiates us. And the guys that are the high performance guys learn to deal with it the best. I deal with it pretty damn good. pretty damn well, and the kids that I've trained over these years.